Okay, so welcome everybody to the September What Works marketing webinar. I am very, very excited about this presentation because this project was probably one of the coolest branding projects I've ever done in my career. And it turned out so amazing. And so we have Shelley Cadamy, my client, here today to talk about what it's like to walk through the branding process. I thought it might be really interesting to hear from a client's perspective what happens when you need to create a company brand and you decide to work with somebody and trust somebody to help guide you through the marketing process. And then what all goes behind the scenes into making this happen. And so we're going to kind of go through all of that today. And we've brought together the creative team that was involved in this, so you can really get a true behind the scenes look at what goes into this process. So let me move some stuff around. Oh, there we go. Nope, too far. What we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about the branding process. I'm going to give you a little bit of, normally I would talk about the difference between marketing strategy and tactics, but since we're really focusing on branding today, what is the branding process and how do you go through that? And then we're going to talk about kind of what was the assessment process with Shelley, the creative process, and even some of the response that she's gotten since she's launched this brand. All right, so I have somehow lost all of you. Can you see what's happening on screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the branding process and what it takes. So when you are deciding to create a brand, the first thing and is to really do an assessment of who you are. You've got to establish your company identity. So often it's really tempting to jump into that creative part, and because it's really sexy when you're creating a logo and a website, all the fun things. But before you can really create an effective brand, you need to understand who you are. So it's about establishing your company identity. You know, why do you do what you do? You know, what's your mission statement, your driving statement, your core values, the things that set you apart from your competition. And then also understanding your audience, you know, the products and services that you offer, but what problems are you solving? You know, understanding your ideal customers, who they are, where they get their communication, you know, how do they like to be interacted with and talked to, and you know, is it word of mouth for your company? Is it radio advertising? You know, what tactics are really going to, you know, be most effective for your customers, and understanding kind of the communication tactics that you're going to need to incorporate into both your brand and your marketing strategy. And then what are your key differentiators? You know, what sets you apart from your competition? Because even if you do the same thing as 5 other, you know, competitors, why you do it's different, how you go about it is different. And those things are very important when it comes to creating your key messages. And so the whole assessment part is all about creating your key messages so that when a customer comes to your website, your brochures, your social media, they're always getting a consistent message of who you are. And so once you have that understanding of who you are, then you can get into all the fun stuff. And so that's when we start talking about logos and websites and photography and all the things that we're going to go into today. But I wanted to give you kind of a big picture of what goes into creating a brand and how you actually get started to do this. All right, and I need to see people. So let me figure out what I am doing There you all are. It's more fun for me when I can see faces. No? What did I do? Anyone?
You might have hid the video thumbnails.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Do you have that little panel while you're sharing of everyone's faces?
I don't. It says that I'm talking.
When it's happened to me in the past, it's because I've kind of clicked around.
Probably.
And yeah, and so if you can toggle like Alt Tab a couple times, we may come back.
It's not that button. Okay, well, I'm going to get there, I promise. All right, but I don't want to waste time. So I want to introduce Shelley. So I need to tell you that Shelley and I met when I first launched my business. And she met with me as a favor to someone else that we know. And we had coffee. And then when we left, I thought, I should be friends with her. She's fantastic. And so I'm really excited that here, 7 years later, I can help her launch her own business consulting and help her with her branding. So let me introduce you to her because she's kind of amazing. So strategist, consensus builder, problem solver, and advocate for no-nonsense effectiveness, Shelley Cadamy has built, turned around, or transformed organizations and programs for nearly 30 years. Shelley has worked with business owners to create strategy for their companies throughout her career. Her 25-year career in economic development included building and leading entrepreneurship programs, traditional economic development, and workforce development. She has built programs from the ground up and turned around failed ones, usually in highly political, complex environments. Shelley has worked collaboratively with chambers of commerce and other organizations to create business-friendly policy and legislation, including criminal justice reform. Shelley has received multiple awards for her business and community involvement, including YWCA Tulsa's Woman of the Year, the Journal Records 50 Women Making a Difference, and the Congressional Coalition on Adoption Institute's Angels of Adoption Award. So I am very pleased to introduce Shelley to you today.
Hi, so for the record, I did not know you were going to read my bio today. And it makes me uncomfortable. So thank you. Do you want me to go ahead and get started or?
Yes. So I'm really trying to figure out how I can share with you all, because I have things to share, but I want you to be able to see everybody at the same time.
While you're sharing, I still have the video panel as myself.
Oh, you do? So
yeah, I can still see. It's just you.
Okay, well then we'll keep going.
Okay.
So also on the call today, I have the creative team that helped build the brand. And so with us, we've got Dominic Schultz of Digon Design and Clint Cothern of Critical Focus Studios. Joel couldn't make it today, but Joel Kelly is a graphic designer. And then me. So Shelley, if you want to get started, let's talk a little bit about what was the assessment process like for you? Because we met at Starbucks and kind of had a couple hours that we just really talked through, your company and what you want it to be. And so much of what we took from that meeting actually ended up in your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I'll jump in with the caveat of I hope you and Dominic and Clint will feel comfortable, jumping in as well, because I'd rather this be a conversation than me just talking a lot. Sure. In a nutshell, it was just really hard. I'm not gonna lie. And the irony of that is that I do it for, a big part of my consulting is working with companies, doing assessments for them and helping them to understand a lot of the things that we talked about. What's your secret sauce? What sets you apart? So I ask those questions of my clients all the time, but it was really, really hard answering them. I'm glad that we got some good content out of that meeting, but honestly, while we were in the meeting, I thought, oh, this is a disaster because I can't really answer. I can't really answer any of these questions. And so when you're in it, it feels not great, but then the outcome was really, really good.
Well, some of the things that we talked about, so like you talked about kind of your why. And so what really struck me is when you were saying things like leading is hard and often lonely. And I work with leaders to take their organizations to the next level as quickly and healthily as possible. And one thing that you've said over and over, even before you decided to kind of go out on your own, but you said, I'm the trusted advisor I wanted when I was leading efforts in organizations. I mean, that's so much of who she is and what she wants to bring to the table, because leading is hard. We also kind of took her core values that day. We talked about her ideal clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say that, you were a great guide, kind of guiding me through it. I felt like I wasn't doing you justice. So, but yeah, we did. So what's interesting is I didn't say, hey, these are my core values. We had a conversation. Elizabeth had some good questions, obviously. But I didn't just pop out with my core values. I didn't have all this stuff, put together. It was created after we had the conversation, and it really was but it was a conversation. It wasn't a formal sort of questionnaire process.
Yeah, I've got a workbook that I kind of walk through. And the process is always messy. I mean, you might not think anything is coming out of the discussion, but for me, it's so important to understand, how do you talk about your business? What words do you use? What's the language? Because as this kind of turns into website copy and things that you use in other collateral materials, I never want it to sound like it's me talking about your business. I want it to sound very authentic to you talking about your business. And so that's where this language is so important, and taking the time to understand really what are your key messages and what's the language that needs to come through.
Yeah, and let me comment on that. I think you did a beautiful job of that, and I mean a really beautiful job. And we'll get more into this, as we continue talking. But I think I'm not your run-of-the-mill business consultant, and so I think that you did. I think you and your team did a beautiful job of taking me and who I am and how I do things, and really integrating that into the whole brand. And I couldn't have asked for a better integration, really.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things that came out of that meeting was, one was a logo questionnaire. And then the next was kind of taking what we talked about and figuring out your website framework. So really kind of figuring out, okay, what content needs to be on your website. But from the logo questionnaire, I think that was really funny.
Yeah.
How that, I mean, she answered the questionnaire and I sent it to the graphic designer, and this is what came back.
It is what came back. And so, and I've already spoken with everyone to make sure that it's okay that I'm wildly transparent for this part. So I filled out a questionnaire. I said, this is what I want. This is what I want people to feel. This is what I do for a living. These are the action steps I want them to take. and I got these logos back, and I literally got sick to my stomach. Like, I really, really don't care for these. I loathe them. And I'm not overstating that. Like, I loathe them. And I picked up the phone and called Elizabeth and said, man, I have to have a really tough talk with you. And she said, no, please, I want you to tell me exactly what you think. And I said, I hate these. Like, I have a visceral response to them. And it was at that point that I went, oh gosh, your graphic designer gave me exactly what I asked for. He gave me exactly what I asked for. He gave me business consultant logos, and I absolutely hate them. And so that's when she and I started, I mean, I think it was during that conversation.
It was.
She and I started kind of riffing on, okay, well, what do I really want? And there you go. So we I don't know exactly how this went down, but I said, I want it to be elegant. I want it to be a little bit old school, but not stuffy old school. I personally love Art Deco. And I said, what about Art Deco? Like, in my mind, I have this sort of black and red and maybe gold Art Deco thing. And so Elizabeth just started pulling stuff up. And so during that call, we both started Googling and came up with some of what you see here. Well, all of what you see here. And what was great about that was I didn't realize I had an image in my head until I got those first logos, and it clashed so badly with the image in my head. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, I have an image in my head. And I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds like I must be the most just, I don't know, out of touch with myself person ever, and possibly I am. But I don't think it's super unusual based on what Elizabeth has shared about other people going through this process. So we started looking at designs, and from there, Elizabeth, do you want to pick up and talk about what happened then?
Sure. Well, it started with when we were talking about, Art Deco. So Shelley has a very, very distinctive style of fashion sense. And so there have been a couple times that she walked into a room one day and I'm like, that's the most Shelley jacket I've ever seen. And kind of knowing her personal style, knowing she loves Art Deco, we kind of riffed on this. And then she's talking about, but, I'd like some red, but how do you feel about Disney villain red?
Yeah, exactly.
And so kind of the whole conversation kind of happened over a weekend. And so Saturday morning, I just remember sitting with my coffee and my pajamas, and I'm Googling Disney villain red, and kind of came up with some ideas. And it really was this kind of deep, rich color that really went along again with the gold and the black and her personal style.
And I think it's important too to say it was when I saw the first set of logos, that's when I also went, okay, I need to merge my personal brand and my business brand. It's time. I'm 53 years old. Like, it's time. And I'd really been doing that kind of, not unintentionally, but not formally for some time. And so we also made the decision to merge both of those, the personal and the business, because in 2022, really, how can you not, and also a big part of my core values and the way I do business is oh gosh, what is I'm trying to think of a word. I'm sorry. Being cohesive, authentic, cohesive, integrated. And so it would be pretty disingenuous of me to be one person personally and another person professionally. So we did make the decision to merge those two things. Is that, Elizabeth, is that how you remember that? I hope.
I do.
Okay.
And so this is what the designer came back with. And these are Shelley's notes. So, I mean, clearly there were a lot of options, and there were some I didn't even include on here, but no, this isn't the direction. But there were some elements of other things that were very cool. And so, it was a matter of, I like this font, I like the look of this, and I like this little, the CCB kind of image.
Monogram.
Yeah, the monogram. And how that, after giving that feedback, this is where we landed. Which is it's very true to who she is, but it's a little Art Deco, it's very modern. How do you say modern and classic at the same time? I mean, it's just very cool.
Well, and I will also say it also, because of the way that it's the way that it's used on the website, the way that we design my business cards, it also leads business owners and CEOs to go, oh, okay, I want to work with you, which is the point, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it aesthetically, but it also has a feeling of establishment around establishment as well as modern. So establishment expertise without being stodgy, without looking like everybody else. And I will say, when I've only had my business cards for about, I don't know, maybe a week and a half. And when I hand them out, people say, oh, this is beautiful. Or when I send an e-newsletter out, I got quite a few emails back saying, your website is gorgeous. This is exactly what I would expect from you, and I'm going to share it with these people. So, I mean, that's what this is supposed to elicit, because, when you get right down to it, this is to help me make a living, right? So the thing that I need people to do when they see it is go, oh, okay, you know what you're doing, and I want to start a conversation.
Well, kind of at the same time that we're having this logo discussion, after we had kind of gotten to the Art Deco, color, look, feel that we're going for, then we were talking to Clint about photography. And so we got on a call with Clint and to kind of talk through what is that, what kind of photographs, what imagery does she like? And then, how do we play upon this Art Deco in Tulsa? So Clint, you want to jump in?
Yeah. This is really funny that this slide that you're showing at the moment has at least two. I'm trying to see the bottom one, but at least two of the locations we actually used really well describe what she talked about. I mean, she talked about Art Deco, and a big problem that I have when I encounter new clients and trying to tell their story is ambiguity, right? They're not sure what they want. They're kind of, they want you to pick it out from them, which is something we have to do. With Shelley, it was very much not that way. It was very much, hey, here's my style. I love the fact that you guys had already been through a lot of the logo stuff, which I didn't know at the time, because it really helped line that out of like, no, this is the story we're telling. And Shelley, just to touch on what you were talking about a minute ago with the authenticity, it's building your business, and obviously it's going to be how you make your living. But in that, when you encounter somebody in your situation where they've had a website built, they've had some portraits taken, it's very easy to get this impression of someone trying to fit into your preconceived ideas, right? Trying to fit into a box that we've created. And with your site and your images, I think the big success was it doesn't feel like you're trying to be somebody. It doesn't feel like you saw an expert in the industry and you're trying to step into those shoes. Instead, you're creating that persona for somebody else to look at and go, "Ooh, how do I capture it that way?" So with you, you were very authentic with me the entire time, and in this part of the conversation, it was very easy to figure out. I think Dominic said it best the other day of what not to do, and which direction we didn't want to go, because then you're stepping into an unknown, right? I've never been in those locations with you to do a photo shoot, so it's something new. but I knew what we needed to avoid, and that really helped shape the direction we went.
You kind of made my whole day, Clint, by saying that. Thank you. I mean, seriously, that meant a lot. Thank you.
Well, it definitely helped. I mean, if you remember, I do a lot of my shooting downtown outdoors, and which is kind of funny because the majority of my shooting is actually indoors. And so I had just gotten back from vacation. I thought, well, hey, the areas that I know best, the imagery we're talking about is outdoors, and we show up, and it's, how hot was it that day? Triple digits?
Very,
Yeah, it was
very,
hot.
very hot. Yes. And I think I pretty quickly went, let's go inside.
Yeah, we immediately went inside, and because we had a very specific look, that kept us from wandering around and spending a bunch of time in stuff that we wouldn't end up using. We went directly to what we wanted, and I think that helped us narrow it down and nail it quicker, which I really enjoyed, the fact that it was as quick as it was. And you did teach me what Art Deco was. I had to Google it whenever you said.
I wasn't going to say anything. I do have to say that it was only 2 days ago, I guess, 2 days ago, that I learned that Clint did not know what Art Deco was when we were talking originally. And let me say, he had lots of confidence and was very sure of himself during that conversation. I'm really glad that he quickly zeroed in on exactly what it was and where should we go, because he picked the locations. I didn't do anything. I mean, let me say this. What was great about this process was I've learned to trust experts. I vet experts, and once I've vetted them, I trust them, whether it's a marketing team or an attorney or a doctor or a pest control company. I'm just all right, whatever you say, that's what we're going to do. And so everything was lined out the day that we had the photos, the day of the photo shoot. And that was great because I didn't have to make decisions or think about anything. And that's kind of a luxury.
So one of the things we did on photography day is we had hired a professional makeup artist to come in and do her makeup. And then Shelley and I talked about some of her jacket choices so she loves jackets and she's very known for her jackets. And so she had plenty to choose from, and it was a yes, this, not that, what fits into what we're trying to accomplish and the image she's trying to convey. And so when we showed up, we just had all the options that we needed.
Well, and let me say this. So I'm going to share something that probably most people would consider was too much information, unless you know me. And then you're like, oh, that's just a Tuesday for Shelley. The night before the photo shoot, my teenage son was arrested. And so I was not looking fresh the day of the photo shoot. I was tired. I was puffy. You might even say I was haggard. And so not a great time to be having, a professional photo shoot done. And so again, relying on experts, I said, Elizabeth, pick the jackets. This is what you have to choose from, pick the jackets. And then when I was having makeup done, I was having it done by someone I hadn't met before. And I do not like heavy makeup. I do not like to look like, I just don't like to look like I have thick makeup on. I like well executed makeup, but I didn't want to look not like myself. And so Elizabeth was there making sure everything was good. And by the way, the woman that did it was fabulous. Her name is
Princey Patel.
Princey Patel. She did such a good job. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. But then, the whole time because I couldn't see myself being photographed. The whole time I said, Elizabeth, I need you to step in if anything doesn't look like me, or if this isn't if I'm not putting my best foot forward, just any of those things. So again, it was really, really good just to have Elizabeth there who had my back, and so I could relax and, look like myself, hopefully, in the photos.
Well, and having worked with Clint before, it was really comfortable to say, hey, from a website perspective, I need some shots that are wide. I need some shots that are long. I need, and just working really comfortably with him and saying, hey, what about this as well makes it good.
Well, and too often when you're working with somebody and you're working on a shoot like this, you got lights, you've got makeup, you've got, it can feel glamorous. It can feel a bit much if you're in the middle of it, right? And you get into this scenario where you just get, oh, everything looks great. That looks great. That looks great. That looks great. But part of having worked with Elizabeth before was she knew, hey, we're going to see these images a few thousand times before the world sees this website. And the little things that are going to get on your nerves, those are things you kind of need to know a little bit of, not necessarily what exactly those are, because it's going to be different every time, but have that feeling of, okay, if it's really going to annoy me that she's on the left side of this shot and I really need her on the right side of this shot, we need to balance that. And having somebody there to check the image to say, yep, that's what we're looking for, or hey, make sure we get this, but the other direction. That's huge. The teamwork on this is so key to how well it goes. That's such a big deal.
Sure. And we were in several different locations. And so here's some other photos with some different lighting jackets. We didn't use as many of these, but it was really important to have variety. So not only, yes, we've got the brand launch now, but, in another year, when she needs a headshot for something, maybe she wants to change it up and use something else. So it's not the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I don't have a problem if a client wants to do this, but I have a big pet peeve on flipping an image. Yeah. And I think that it's pretty obvious if your shot, your hero shot on your site was you facing, to the right or to the left. And then because of design changes, you want to do an update, you do an update in, 6 months to a year, and all of a sudden that same image is the same way, but the mole's on the other side of her face, whatever that is. Those are details people will pick up on. And if you're just thorough and have those other options, not to mention, it gives us a chance to work through it, right? We may spend, if you guys see the image with her on the gold there, and this applies to the whole thing. You guys mentioned this the other day, the ability to, it's a work in progress, right? So we may spend quite a bit of time in front of that black and gold background and use one of those images. But that time is investing in that right piece, right? So we might just pop you in front of it, shoot it, and move on, and it's good enough. But then taking the time to say, well, what about that other jacket? And so often, if you're the person that's in the middle of this, Shelley, you can attest to this, there's a million things that you have going on in this. So which jacket you're wearing may not be the most important thing on your agenda. But if you have someone there like Elizabeth to say, hey, let's try it with the other jacket. Let's try this same thing here. You'll have time later to go back and switch it out and look at it when that's on your mind. But that process of, hey, you're not going to like some of it, and some of it you're going to get excited about. And then later you're going to see it and go, that's not for me. That's great. You got to be able to you have to be willing to be in the process and see it through to get it as good as you ended up getting it.
A side note, I can't tell you how uncomfortable I am seeing lots of photos of myself for now.
That's normal.
It was. The selection process was also a lot.
It was a lot. But you guys did a great job with it. And yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I couldn't, again, it was nice to just be like told where to go here, pose this way, put this jacket on, and know that I could trust that it was being done well.
So as we were kind of talking and doing photography and logo, also we're starting to have the conversation with Dominic about the website. And so giving him that kind of outline from the beginning, I usually give him, it kind of looks like a hierarchy, but it's, what content is going on what page. This is what we're going to need start talking about hero images, and he gets a chance to start figuring out, okay, what does this kind of look like? So Dominic, do you want to jump in?
Of course. I mean, you undersell yourself. You make my job so easy because you tell me exactly what you want and how you want it to be laid out. Like you give me that hierarchy, but it almost looks like a flow chart. Like, yes, hero image, about section, what are the 3 points we're going to say, benefits. And you're amazing when it comes to that, as well as writing copy that fits in there as well. But Elizabeth came to me for this website, and she said, and when I sat down with her and Shelley and we had a conversation, it came down to, I don't want to look like every other business consultant out there. And they showed me a couple of websites and said, I don't want to look this way. And that made my life so much easier in terms of what we were able to do. And honestly, I don't think she looks, in this website, she does not look like any other business consultant. Like after we launched the site, I was showing my mom what I'd been working on for the past week and why I was so unavailable, because we pumped this one out fast, and it was awesome. And my mom looks at these images in the website and says, who is that? Is she royalty? I'm like, no, Mom, she's a business consultant. So just the way everything's laid out with your images, your logo, and how we put the site together, I'm so proud of this one. Like it's one of the best yet. And we were able to get this done not only in a really expedited fashion because we were able to work together so well. Whenever Elizabeth and I work together on a site, it's so much better than whenever I handle something solo like that. She makes my life a lot easier.
Well, thank you for that.
Dominic, the answer is always yes. If asked, is Shelley royalty? The answer is always yes.
Dominic, apologize to your mother for me. Yeah,
no, it's okay.
I should have said the timeline on this project got really condensed. I think you had maybe half the time of what the original timeline was, maybe even less. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was like, we need to get this done in 2 weeks now, instead of, the 4 weeks we were planning to work on this.
Yeah. Which I hate doing. I hate doing to people. I did that once with a build out, like of a new office space, and it's not, I hate doing it. But yeah, you guys turned it out quickly.
Well, at the same time, I think with that timeline, it was a great way for us to streamline the entire process and avoid like getting caught in the weeds on certain details. And I think we were able to refine things a lot better that way.
Well, I think I've pulled up some images of her services page, and I think this was one of my favorite discussions because it was one of those late night calls where we were trying to get it done. So Dominic and I are talking, and we're looking at images, and there's the traditional, people shaking hands and consulting, and like, that's not it.
Yeah, I have to say, I really appreciated that I could be very honest with this team. We were all tired. I think it was only probably 9 o'clock at night, but by 9 o'clock, I'm done. And I said, yeah, I hate those. I hate all of that. I don't want any of those photos at all. I was like, no. But I mean, to be fair, it's the same. It's the go-to stuff, right? It's what's on every kind of consultant website. People around a conference table shaking hands, kind of stuff. And I don't remember who said, hey, how about we just pull some abstract stuff in the colors of the site, but I think it turned out beautifully, and it is consistent with it's just consistent with the look and feel. I love it.
Well, I really love how we ended up finding these images that were not only consistent with like the look and feel, but the fact that we were able to find stuff that kind of fit into your style, that Art Deco style, was awesome in my opinion. Like it's when you look at most websites, it is in like a services section, like, yeah, it's an old white guy shaking some other old white guy's hand, like, business consulting, services, networking.
Let's network. Yeah, yes. So this turned out beautifully, and I can use these images in my e-newsletters. I can use them in collateral material. if and when I actually get around to doing that with Elizabeth, we are going to do that. Yeah, I love it. And again, it does set me apart. It doesn't look like everybody else's website.
Yeah, so we did that. And then with this website, we also did an SEO Jump Start. And so as we were talking about the content and creating content, Dominic was also working on the back side of the website to make sure we have all of the keywords and the headers. And talk a little bit about the SEO part of it, because I'm
Sure.
going to mess it up.
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to the Jumpstart, imagine putting the website together and designing it is one thing, but then making sure it's friendly to Google and ensuring that when we launch, we have our best foot forward is what the Jumpstart comes down to. It's doing keyword research, figuring out what to target in the industry, what kind of words we need to have on the page and where we need to have them, as well as just building with that in mind, because a lot of developers will build a website and they'll put it together and it'll look great. But technically speaking, when the Google's robot goes through and crawls through that website, it may not understand how things are laid out if it's not formatted properly. So just building the website with that in mind to have that best foot forward is the gist of the Jumpstart. And I think this website's going to rank a lot better faster because of that.
Yeah, it was good just to have, because that's such an important tool and it's often overlooked, and wanting to make sure that we had that, I mean, make this as robust as possible from the Jumpstart.
Exactly.
Yeah, and let me say, and Dominic, correct me if this is wrong, but I just Googled, because I honestly hadn't done that until just now. I just Googled Tulsa business consultant, and I'm the 4th organic.
Already?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I mean, I think so, unless I'm doing it wrong. There are a couple ads, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 is me.
That's awesome.
I know. Don't you love how I did that on the fly?
That's a case study right there.
I know, because it's only been up, what, 2 months tops?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sad about that at all.
Well, it just goes to show it works.
Yeah. Yes. And I actually had faith that it worked, which is why I had not ever checked it until literally just now.
That's perfect. But yes,
So, yeah.
in terms of SEO, like I nerd out about this stuff all the time. Like I get excited talking about it, and just being able to do stuff like that with such an awesome team and bring this kind of level to these projects is what gets me excited to do this kind of work, especially with partnering with Elizabeth and Shelley and Clint. Like it makes me so happy. I love working on projects like this.
Well, the last part of kind of the branding was some of the collateral materials. And so how do we take, now that we have images and logos and variations of logos, kind of creating the collaterals that we needed for the brand, such as her business card, which turned out really great. And so some of the things that we did to make the card stand out is there's a soft touch film on it. So it almost feels like a flower petal. It has this very soft touch, but on all of the words and the logos, we did a raised UV on it, a spot UV. And so all of the print is raised and shiny. And so it just has this very unique feel, and it's very classy and elegant. But again, trying to stay true to the brand and how she wants to present herself, even in something as small as a business card, was really important. How we turn this into a Facebook cover image. She is being recognized as 50 Women Making a Difference in October. And so we needed to create an ad for the program. And so, I mean, if you can notice, she even has a customized QR code here that goes to her. It'll pull up all of her contact information, but it has her logo there in the very center. So just little touches, and how you use these elements in everything that you do to create a brand.
And I use all those elements in when I do presentations, when I'm working with clients. They're easy to use for like what I used to do in PowerPoint, I do in Canva now. And so when I do presentations or written reports, it's easy to use all these elements. They work really well in my everyday work.
Well, that's kind of what I have as far as presentation wise. I'd like to open it up if you all have any questions about the branding process. And this was really to kind of give you that behind the scenes look of what goes into it. It's not that it just magically appears. There are definite steps and there's a lot of collaboration to make something like this work.
We were so thorough that there are no questions.
Oh, that just makes me happy.
I kind of feel like it's been a little obnoxious because we're so complimentary. Everybody's so complimentary of each other, but I assure you, if you know me at all, that is not normally the case. And so it really was just a really great team to work with and a great process. It looks like Brenda's trying to unmute herself. You're muted, Brenda.
If you're on a computer, you can hold the space bar.
There you go.
Is that better?
You got it.
Okay. I think you've done gorgeous work. It's interesting, the collaboration and things that you guys do. And it would be that people like us who are in the newspaper business actually had the time to be able to devote things like this. Maybe one day when I grow up, I can do something like this. I'm hoping, but it's always very important to me, image for my customers. And I think you spot on this. I think it looks really great. It's great for your image. And I think you did a great job.
Brenda, I apologize. What a newspaper are you with?
I'm with the Muskogee Phoenix.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, but well, my staff and I have been attending these webinars, and we've enjoyed all of them. And it's like I said, we were just watching this one, and I think we were all thinking like, "Wow, wouldn't that be nice to have time to do that and to set up a photo shoot instead of don't stand in front of that wall, get away from it while I take your picture."
Anyway. Yeah, I've been in those PR situations too, and you're like, what can we do, and where can we place them, and how do we not make it look like every other photo?
Yes. No, but I think you guys did a great job. It looks really wonderful, and I'm sure it's going to be a real plus for your business for sure.
It already has been. Yeah, I mean, it was well worth the investment. Easily. I think it's already. I've actually already gotten a return on the investment to equal my investment. So it's been really good.
Good deal.
Shelley and Elizabeth, I will simply say it looks very sharp, very, very crisp. If you don't mind going back to slide 16, as you were doing, kind of talking through those, I really like how you have a category that matches a very unique image. And in my thinking, I could see you when you're delivering a presentation on business strategy, that business strategy matches, that header matches what you have on your website.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I was off on that, but I think that's another way that you can tie people back to the information that you're going to put back on your website, is to make the headers align with things that you have right here. I mean, it's very catchy to the eye. And then again, I could just see you delivering a presentation and then it taking me back. I want to know more, and somehow it just ties back. So very well done.
That is so smart. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Shelley, and I don't know why I didn't ask you this to start with. Do you consider yourself a visual person, or do you are you visual, auditory? How do you consider yourself?
Oh, I should know that question. In terms of like how I learn, how I take in information, I should know that answer.
Well, in planning this, did you visualize it, or did you have
I visualized
structured? Okay.
No. I visualize almost everything. Yeah. even when I'm working with clients, I get visions in my head of how to build their organization or how to structure something. Yeah. So the answer is I'm visual. I'm sorry. I could just talk forever about that.
Me too. Most of us visual people can talk forever because we don't really know how to say it. So we kind of go around it.
I love beautiful things. And so when I marry that with how visual I am, then you get this website.
Well, it really, I think it surpassed even what I had imagined when we started doing this. And it really is one of the coolest projects I've ever worked on. And just how, for me, it's so rewarding because it's so authentically you. I mean, everything about this to me, I'm like, this is how I see Shelley.
Well, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's, I mean, it's a milestone in my life, not just in my career. And I love it. It couldn't have, and I think those people who know me, I don't gush, you know, I'm fairly, I can be critical. And I absolutely love everything about this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I think this was kind of a good case study on what it takes to create a brand and how the kind of the collaboration that goes into creating this. Dominic, Clint, anything else you want to add?
I feel like we covered everything that I would have added other than just like, I just want to reiterate that this team has done such an amazing job in coming together to put a project like this together and do it so smoothly.
Yeah, it's certainly an example of pointing to that. When we don't, I think each of us, when we work with clients that there isn't the team aspect, they don't have that arranged yet, it feels lacking because this definitely sets a standard.
Well, I love working with you guys, so thank you very much for being on this project. It's really nice when you can find people that you can collaborate with so well.
And who are lovely people. Like, I kind of want to hang out with you guys.
Yes, the friendship doesn't hurt either. And being able to be very honest with one another and like, no, that's not it.
You having the confidence to be able to say, I hate the way that looks is so reassuring and making sure we're going in the right direction.
Well, there's nothing that hides on my face. And so there was one project we worked on together that he pulled something up and he just watched my face. He goes, you hate that. I'm like, yeah, I do. That's not it.
Don't play poker.
No, I cannot do that. I cannot play poker. Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. I'm going to do just a plug. So next month, we'll be doing a What Works marketing. It's mystery presentation, but I think that we are going to be talking about how radio and TV advertising isn't dead.
Oh, nice.
So I'm working with Cox Media Group to secure that. But I think that understanding that traditional marketing is the things that you've heard about for years and years and years are still around and still can be effective when done correctly. And so that is what I'm working on for October. We have all of the previous recordings are on YouTube. If you want to go back and look at some of the other webinars and learn some other things. So there are some good things happening. And because I love connecting with people, if you'd like to set up a time just to chat about your business, and I'd love to get to know you better. So feel free to set up a call. But to wrap this up today, I am recording this, and so I will be sending out a recording later today. So if there are people that you know If you want to refresh yourself on something, or if you know somebody that could, value or benefit from this webinar, feel free to share it. But I will be sending out that information later this afternoon. So thank you all again for being here today. And I love doing these webinars, and it's really great just to add value and share with you things that work when it comes to marketing.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
And then there were fewer.
All right.
Awesome. Well, take care.
Bye.